Good evening. For my mom, music is next to everything. She uses it for leading worship at church in the children's ministry, teaching classes at your local YMCA, and as anybody else listening to music for the pleasure of listening to music. Then, that all changed. One evening on her way home from teaching one of her classes, she was hit by a driver that was texting. The accident caused her to lose 85% of her hearing in her right ear. Before the accident, she was always ready to listen to one of her favorite artists while in the car. Now when I get in the car with her, it's just dead silence. Why? Because music is depressing to her now. And to make matters worse, she now struggles to stay coordinated while she teaches her classes and leads worship at church. This and many other reasons are why texting and driving needs to stop now. And I'm not talking in a couple years. I'm not talking in 6 months. It needs to stop now, period. Now, in order for it to stop, there's some important information about texting and driving that we all should know. First off, why it needs to stop. Second, benefit. Second, what we can do to prevent it. And third, visualization of benefits to its stopping. Now, before we get into those three, I want to provide you all with a definition of distracted driving from the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, also known as the NHTSA. They state that distracted driving is any activity that diverts attention from driving, including talking and texting on your phone, eating and drinking, talking to other people in the car, messing with your stereo, entertainment system, and anything else that takes your attention away from the task of driving safely. So now we know that by law, texting and driving is indeed distracted driving. Now I want to take a look at why exactly it needs to stop. So first off, going again back to the NHTSA, they also state that 660,000 people admit to using their phone on a daily basis while they drive. They also state in 2015, over 3,400 people were killed and 391,000 people were injured, all from distracted drivers. MinnesotaSafeDriving.com will tell you that car traveling at 40 miles an hour covers 60 feet in 1 second. Multiply that times 3. You just traveled 180 feet blind while looking at your phone. Then if you went to drivesafely.net, they'll tell you that driving is the single most dangerous thing we do regularly. And because we've all been in cars our whole lives, it's very routine. That routine only makes it all the easier to forget about the danger of what we're actually doing while driving that car and start texting while we drive. So now we understand why exactly it needs to stop. Let's take a look at some things we can do to prevent it. First off, we can stop ourselves, obviously. But how and why? Well, realize you're driving a several thousand-pound vehicle at high speed. For example, 40 miles an hour going down a road. You or another driver makes a slight mistake looking down at your phone. That's a potentially 80-mile-an-hour fatal impact. Another thing we can do, we can increase the Kentucky fine on drivers. Did you know, according to drivinglaws.org, a first offense of texting and driving in Kentucky is only $25? A second offense is only $50. Compare that to Utah, going back to drivinglaws.org as well. They will fine you up to $750 as well as up to 3 years in prison for only a first offense. Second offense of up to $10,000 fine and 15 years in prison. Assistant Professor of Marketing Janos Karaklis and Professor of Business Daryl D. Muelling of business recommends that when carpooling, have a designated texter for the driver. So evidently, there's plenty of things we can do to prevent texting. Now, what is that going to look like, and what are some benefits? In order for me to give you the benefits, I've got to give you a visualization of a situation that I was actually in recently. I was driving home from school and I came across a lady in a minivan starting to veer into my lane. Fortunately, she jerked her car back early enough before I would have having to driven off the road to avoid her. I looked in the windshield when she passed. I saw something similar to this. Oh, to that. Kind of frightening, right? But this kind of situation happens numerous times and can be avoided if we would just all stay off of our phones while we're driving. So in conclusion, because texting and driving is a danger to you all, to me, and to everybody else, it needs to stop now. I've only listed a few of the things that we can do to prevent it, and the benefits are plentiful as well. Fortunately, my mom's accident wasn't any worse than it was. If it had been a second earlier and she'd be clipped at the rear of her car, she could have been flipped. Any one of us could be in a situation just as bad or worse. So next time you or someone else is tempted to text and drive, think, because the consequences could very well be detrimental. Thank you.